Okay, hi there. It says we're live, so I'm going to trust the machinery today. Hello, everyone, and welcome, Carl from South Wales. Fantastic. And Christina Vigates, Fasas Los. How are you doing over there? So good to hear from you. And Kelly, yeah, Palos Verdes, beautiful part of the world down there. I'm in Southern California, by the way. I'm right now in San Marino, California. And Rivka from Jerusalem, good to see you here. All right. And everybody else, all my good friends who join me on the weekly meditations, our weekday meditations, who like to also come here. Maybe you're a member of the Mindful Living community, and that's fantastic. And of course, all you folks who are from Mindful Living LA, who may or may not know me, but I'm really happy that you're here. So I've been teaching mindfulness practices for almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years this coming January. And I've known Elisha and Stephanie for many years. And so I've been teaching here for as long as they've been doing these for sure. What, about 6 years, something like that. So thank you for being here. And I hope you enjoy our meditation and get something out of it. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about forward progress. And as a psychotherapist, there may be an expectation in something like therapy or meditation or other introspective practices, yoga, whatever it might be, that growth should be linear and in some ways consistent. So it goes something like that on a graph. I would like to suggest that growth is more like this. It goes forward and back and forward and back. But you notice that it continues to move forward. Heidi Schreck wrote a very interesting play a few years ago called What the Constitution Means to Me. And at the end of it, she discussed how history seems to move. And she described it very much that way. She said, imagine a woman walking down a beach with a golden retriever. And the woman is walking at a steady pace, and the golden retriever is running around this woman. That's how progress usually goes. So do not expect that your growth will be linear, that there should be something that builds upon something else, and then you reach a stage, and then you reach another stage, you reach another stage. It's forward and back all the time. And we actually can learn this during our meditation practice. We may feel very concentrated, for example, and that's a wonderful thing to feel concentrated, to know that you're really present. And then, of course, because the mind just does this, you're not going to be able to stop it. It wanders. The mind drifts off into some wild memory, fantasy, reverie of some kind or another. It's going to think about what you're going to have for lunch. It's going to think about what you did yesterday, what you're going to do next year. And that's just what the mind does. And then it comes back around eventually to where we go, hey, I've been lost in thought. That moment is the singular most important moment of the practice, the return back to mindfulness. And then we can deploy our mindful attention anywhere we want it. If you're feeling the body breathing, you deploy it there. If you're doing open awareness practice, you deploy it out here, whatever it might be. And this kind of helps us to understand that meditation of this kind is not linear. We're not trying to reach some particular goal, some particular destination. The journey is the destination. And it takes us in all kinds of different side roads and dirt roads and trails and all kinds of stuff that it can happen. So why don't we begin by making sure that we are comfortable, that you're at ease, that your body feels like it's safe. Maybe you're just sitting in a chair like me. Maybe you're reclining. Maybe you're standing. Maybe you're doing walking meditation, whatever it might be. You don't even have to close the eyes. You can just gaze downward if that's better for you. Just kind of softly focus toward a blank space. And of course, you can shift your position or open the eyes anytime you need to, especially if you become activated or you get a little anxious or you start dissociating, kind of drifting off a lot, just open the eyes. That'll brighten the mind and reorient you to your surroundings. And so you are here. And beginning to experience here in the body. Because the body is always here. Noticing how the body feels right now. Tired, restless, heavy, light, whatever it may be. This is what's here in this moment. Noticing the sense of touch. The places where we're touching a chair, or our clothing, or the feeling of air on the skin. Noticing what the hands are touching. The texture, the shape, the temperature. Noticing sounds in your world. Where you are right now may be very quiet or very noisy. These sounds are what is here. And this is why we have come to this practice, to know here. Some of the sounds we hear, the mind may like these sounds. Some the mind may not like. The sounds are not good or bad. They are simply sounds, vibrations in the air, that have nothing to do with us. We create the good and the bad, the liking and the not liking. What if there are more things like this in the world than simply sounds? Are there other places in my life where I am creating the good and the bad and the liking and the not liking? And are these neutral experiences? Do they really have anything to do with me? And so throughout this or any practice, the mind is going to stay active and it will create preferences. It will create likes and dislikes and wanting and not wanting. And this is what's here. And this is what we can notice. And if we judge ourselves harshly for having these thoughts, remember that even the thoughts are neutral experiences. We may like them or not like them, and we may judge them, and we can simply notice, oh, that's here too. And then finding for ourselves a place in which to rest our attention, an anchoring point, a connecting point to here. And this could be the sensations of breathing or external sensations such as what your hands are touching or the sounds that you're hearing. And we'll rest our attention here for a while through a few minutes of silence. And as we continue, during the silence, this is when the practice really deepens. And you will experience the automatic pilot default mind going into all kinds of thought spaces. And this is the opportunity to eventually awaken, to become a Buddha, to notice that you have wandered, and to invite the attention back to whatever object you are paying attention to. So, not seeing or experiencing the wandering mind as a failure, as a setback, as something that we need to try to stop from happening, but rather seeing it as an inevitable step on the path forward. And so we will continue practicing together through an extended period of silence. And as we continue, when we return from that wandering mind adventure, we can also drop into the body and notice what sensations or emotions might have accompanied that journey or returned with those thoughts. Noticing the experience of the body in this way helps us to gain insight at this very deep level, this embodied level. And this is what we can carry with us throughout the day. When the body sends us messages that something needs to be paid attention to, we can see it simply as that, and not as some irrational fear that the mind is telling us is going to be our future. We can simply notice, oh, this sensation is here. This emotional sensation is here. And in that way, we don't spiral into the depths of anxiety or anger or sadness. And we learn that here in this practice. And so we'll continue in silence for the last few minutes of the meditation. And of course, taking all the time you need and in whatever way you need to transition from the practice. And so, I mentioned I've been doing these for about 6 years. I do this on a voluntary basis. This is kind of my karma yoga, you might say, because I believe that anything you want, you should give it away if you want more of it. And so I teach freely here the third Sunday of the month. Uh, there is a way, however, to donate to the Mindful Living Collective, which helps to support the Mindful Living Collective. I've put that up on the chat, but I'm also going to separate the PayPal from the Venmo because I think, oh, so that's the PayPal there. It says Elisha Goldstein, by the way, because he owns the StreamYard Dealy Bobby. And here is, this should be, yes, and here's the Venmo information. So I'll put that in separately. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, anything you noticed during the practice, you'd like to chat something in, go ahead. And it's so nice to see all my friends, Pam Rideout, so good to see you. Sandy, hello, Sandy, namaste. Yes, thank you, Sharon. Very good. And Gwen from down in Atlanta. So if we don't spiral into the depths of anxiety, so we don't spiral into the depths of anxiety, anger, sadness. Yeah, you can actually interrupt that cycle by simply noticing. Now, this is the genius of these practices, and you learn it in every practice. As soon as you notice that the mind has wandered, it has stopped wandering. You are mindful again. As soon as you notice that you're spiraling into anxiety or something, you have interrupted it. You are no longer spiraling in. You've put a little space in there in which you can go, wait a minute, anxiety, what is it? Oh, it's my body sending me signals that something needs to be paid attention to. And through all that neuroscience, and so that's all that is. And once we realize that, then we interrupt that cycle and we can step out of it for a second. What else do we have here? Dina, hello, how are you? So lovely and privileged to meditate with you all today. And with you too, Dina, always a pleasure. Eileen, so good to see you. You're such a heartfelt person. And we just love it. Hello, Patricia. Thank you so much. Anything else? Any questions that you have? Thank you from Argentina. Yes, hello. Good to have you, Antigua. Christina, yes. Expectations and setbacks. Yeah, and they're all challenges and obstacles are actually opportunities in disguise. There's something here to learn. And that old pattern of depression that can be there. Yeah. Is this from the disaster that's taking place or took place in Germany, the flooding? Were you having some activation from that? If you want to talk about it, you don't have to, of course. And Hillary, thank you. It is an oasis. I love it. These practices are like seeking shelter in a way. Thank you, Lorraine. Good to see you. All right. Any thoughts, questions? And there's DJ Jock. DJ Jock. DJ Joel Rockland. Here he is. J Rock. That's what I was trying to say. What I learned today was when I return to mindfulness, notice what is going on in my body. Yes, that is a very good thing to learn. Is when you notice the mind wandering, drop into the body, and then that can become more of a default movement in daily life as well. And in that way, that again interrupts that thought cycle because you've unplugged from your mind and you've plugged into your body, so to speak. Okay, Christina, thank you. I think I know what you might be referring to. Feel free to drop me an email if you like. Is there a goal or goals which we can be aware of while meditating? Are there goals? Well, the goal is really to be present. If we look at the name of the practice, Vipassana, it means to see things clearly as they are. So I would imagine that is the goal. to see things clearly as they are. It's not about reaching any particular place, but simply to notice. If you want to be reaching for that, you notice that, to see it clearly for what it is, a thought, a belief, whatever it might be, to see things clearly as they are. Does that help you, Eileen? Thank you. Oh, thank you, Alan. Good to see you too. Oh, yeah. Sandy's sending a little heart to Christina there. Is it simply to interrupt the thought process? Keep returning to the present. Uh, when we disengage from the thoughts during meditation and come back to the body, back to the breath, or whatever it might be, this is teaching us that at any time we can become present. Now, you can also turn your attention toward whatever is here in terms of the discomfort in the body, how that emotion feels, and so forth. You can also turn the spotlight toward what you are thinking. In other words, well, where was I just now? Where the mind really took, oh, I was in that place, wasn't I? And you can even follow that thought back a little bit. Be careful, though, because it's going to lead you right down into that labyrinth again. But that's okay, because you have a thread. You're like Theseus and the Minotaur, right? You have that thread that Ariadne gave you, and you can pull you out of there if you get lost in that thought. But yeah, as soon as you become mindful, whatever's going on changes, because now you're being aware of it as an object of attention. Hi, Eileen. Good to hear from you. Can you comment on the periodic experience of losing interest or no longer being drawn to teachings and practice? That it is normal is what I would say. I would totally normalize this. When I first started transcendental meditation in 1973, someone asked a question about, well, when I first started this practice, it was all, I had lots of cool things going on, and now it's just sort of, samey. And the teacher said, well, it's kind of like you walk through a line of sleeping elephants. You try to be quiet and you get through and whatever, but pretty soon you wake up the elephants. And when you wake up the elephants, then it just becomes part of your life. The meditations can very easily become just part of our lives. They can be, they get put into the fabric of our lives and woven in there so deeply we don't even notice them anymore. And please understand too that plateaus are normal. That's actually where we live most of our lives. It's not going to be a peak experience. So I think gratitude is always a way to enliven the practice, to just have gratitude for this breath, or this ability to be still for a moment, or this ability to have mindful awareness. And that can often excite the mind a little bit and re-energize that motivation. And Christina is sending Sandy back a heart. And to add kindness toward oneself, these are acts of kindness right here. Being here is an act of kindness toward yourself, not about attainment or getting somewhere. So it is, and you can always come back to a practice once you've left. You can always come back to a practice if you've left it. All right, so I'm going to go now. And I'll be ending the broadcast, and I'll be back the third Sunday of August. And until then, stay in touch. If you would like to get information about our daily meditations, you can write me at the email address on the screen, and I'll send you the Zoom link to that. It's 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, Pacific time. And I won't post it here because it will get on Facebook, and I really don't want to broadcast it on social media. All right, everyone. Thank you for your interest and attention. Much gratitude for your being here. Bye-bye. See you next month, maybe. Bitteschön. and choose.